What's so funny, Shane?
Hey, buddy. Oh no, I'm here. I'm enjoying a very fresh cup of coffee right now. Just had my second protein bar for the day. Banks, I don't know if you know this, but I'm slimming down again. I went and I got almost 220 pounds, and usually I should be a lot less than that. I should probably be hovering somewhere around 200. So I've had to make some calculations, change my diet again, but after the last time I did it, I think I lost about 50 pounds the first time I did it. And I was just like, yeah, I need to get back down to fighting weight again. So this time it's been much easier. And I didn't realize it, but, it's one of those things where I wasn't taking in enough protein. I'll tell you right now, if you guys, we do have some people out there in this audience that I know are working on this. Justin, I know you were working on this, man. And this wasn't even part of the program. Just one of those things is just
Well, we did kind of say we're going to wing some of it. So I guess this is the winging.
Let's just wing this part for a second. We'll get in. We've got a bunch of little things that we wanted to do today just to kind of hit on them, cover, just to have some talk. But
we've got people from Warren, Beto, AOC, Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Lindsey Graham, and The Matrix, maybe. Bunch of stuff.
Fun stuff. But yeah, I think, I think health is a very important part of just our daily lives. I would love the liberty movement to be healthy, and if I can help you guys, understand kind of some of this stuff in terms of nutrition and exercise and all that kind of stuff at some point, maybe I'll introduce that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you right now, if you're looking to shed some weight out there, there are a couple of apps that I've used successfully to probably shed close to 70 damn pounds now altogether. Gain some, lose some, but it's all diet. You're never ever going to exercise yourself into a place where you feel good. You will feel good maybe after doing some exercise, but in terms of just body composition, if you want a lower fat ratio that makes up your body, then you're going to have to change your diet.
Well, either way, there's plateaus in either diet or exercise. So if you want to make it easier to attain your goal, you want to do both. If not, you're just fighting one plateau instead of getting the advantage of the diet and the exercise at the same time.
Sure. Yeah. And so for me, diet's a big thing. I walk probably 3 to 5 miles every day, most days, 5 or 6 times a week. And when I'm trying, maybe I'll walk an extra mile or something. But most of what I had to conquer was what I was putting in my face, man. And that sucks because I'm a foodie. I like to cook. I'm a good, I'm on the egg. I hate to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty good on that egg, man.
The pulled pork you make is very good.
My laksa is not terrible.
The laksa is much better. The laksa is the best thing I've eaten here. Don't tell Jim.
Don't tell Jim. His
meatloaf.
He's got meatloaf and what else? Oh man, you haven't had Jim's deep dish pizza yet, have you?
I haven't had that or the pasta yet.
I'll tell you right now. One of those is about one piece of his Detroit style deep dish pizza is phenomenal. And it's about everything you need in one meal.
His meatloaf is phenomenal. The laksa is just...
It's different.
Oh, man, that stuff is so good.
But yeah, so two of the apps that I've used, I've used Lose It and I've used the Fitbit app. And so depending on what you're doing, if you're an Apple person, Lose It's a little easier to work with. If you're a Fitbit person, then congratulations. They've got everything set up for you, and you can kind of set up a strategic, how hard, how intense it's going to, you're going to go at losing weight. So kind of, 5 different steps.
If you put it all the way like maximum hardness, does it say don't eat for the next week?
Basically. No, it's, but you will, your body changes. You'll go through some withdrawals, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to figure out what types of food are extremely calorie rich in the wrong ways, because you're looking for that feeling of not being hungry. And so if you can eat food that's going to make you feel satisfied, for me, it's protein, man. I wasn't getting anywhere near enough protein. So there are, some protein powders that are odorless and tasteless that I add to coffee now, that'll give you an extra 20 grams. And they say you should have about 2 grams for every pound that you weigh and everything. So, and that can change. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, and I'll tell you right now, based on your DNA, that's a cool thing about Lose It. I actually found out yesterday is the DNA, if you do like 23andMe or something like that, you can actually import that raw data into the Lose It app.
No way.
Sure, man.
That's fascinating.
It's really it's a neat thing, and I like to try to stay on top of technology and all that it can do for us. And I think obviously these meatmobiles that we've got, you got to take care of this kind of stuff, guys. And the less you weigh, the better your joints are going to feel, the more you're going to be inclined to move and do active things in the first place. So if you got questions about this, you feel free to email us at info@rebellionpod. I think it's just one of those parts of helping each other and helping this community to be healthier. And if I can inspire you or help you to do something like that, then by all means.
That's very interesting. The only thing I'd add to that, and I live a pretty healthy lifestyle. I don't exercise as much as I need to these days. But the thing that I have, most of what I don't do is because it's just overwhelming, like planning nutrition. I wish somebody would just do it for me.
I don't.
And so forth. It's just too much. But something that is easy that I do on a regular basis, almost every day, is fasting. And so I'll usually eat like after 2:00. And then the last time I'll eat in the day is probably like 8 or 9. And that means from 9 p.m. to 2:00 the next day.
2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Wow. Because you don't have breakfast at all then, huh?
I don't have breakfast.
Do you have coffee?
Black coffee does not.
There's no calories.
Yeah. So there's no digestion starting. And I don't know about all the science, but I do know like 2 or 3 things. I know that I feel less tired during that all the way to 2 p.m. And at 2 p.m., for whatever reason, even after I eat, I don't feel as tired. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because my body has had time to rest. But there's something there. That's not just like in my head. I know that if I eat like a breakfast or a big lunch or something, I will feel tired.
Yeah.
But while my stomach feels empty, which I've gotten used to, so it doesn't bother me to feel hungry, I have much more energy. Yeah,
and that's the thing is I think fasting is a huge thing. I've heard if you fast for about 72 hours, obviously you're still taking in some nutrients and things like that, mm-hmm. but you're not really eating. I hear that it can kind of help reset your immune system as well.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I started doing this because a friend of mine went on the keto diet, and she cataloged her whole journey. She used to have a lot of like ailments and stuff, and she's fully keto now. And I tried that for a second, but
you can't.
It's too much work. And I got the keto flu, which is when you don't eat enough of certain
carbs.
Things.
Yeah.
And she does the fasting, like I think it's twice a month. She does a 3-day fast, and she does the day fast every day.
Wow.
And she talks about just how it has helped her and conquer like just wanting to eat and all her ailments. It's a fascinating subject.
Well, I mean, the thing is your body is actually, I mean, you think about over time, right? I mean, the millions of years that, this rock has been spinning, whenever we showed up 1,000,000+ years ago or something like that as human beings.
Whoa, are we debating evolution now?
We're not debating it. It's just science. The human body for millennia have really been, very calorie efficient. And so, this weird little blip in the human experience over since the let's just say 40s, right? Maybe let's just say it because that's when they really kind of started canning and doing things like that, I guess. So
as soon as we could stuff our face as much as we wanted.
Yeah. We had food stores, right? So, I mean, now your body is this ultra efficient machine, and now you got all the food in the world. Like it's a different paradigm. And so you got to think about it a little bit, differently. And luckily we do have technology. And for me, tracking what I eat for every meal, and weighing it out. I mean, it sounds difficult. It's not difficult. It's really simple. So get a little scale, get an app, and track what you eat, and you will discover exactly why you might be a little overweight and unathletic and uninspired and things like that. And I'll tell you right now, the second time through that I've done this, so much easier, Banks. The first time I did it, got down about 50 pounds. Doing this for about 3 weeks now, went from almost 220 down to almost 205 already.
Wow.
And so it's just one of those things. You stick to it, you stay on it, and you're gonna look and feel better and all that kind of stuff. So no ad. I just want you guys to to have, the understanding. It took me a long time to understand that it's just mostly damn diet, and it's not got anything to do with how much you exercise.
Yeah, this has been the Rebellion, your place for nutrition, exercise, and health.
That's right. I love it. Oh, we are so multifaceted here.
I know, right?
Well, there's more to life than just all these stooges and politicians and bureaucrats that makes terrible, awful decisions out there.
Absolutely. We're just trying to liberate people so they can focus on their health and exercise.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about everything else. And they're all stressed out and they don't stress eat and stuff.
That being said, there'll always be powerful entities that want to control and make your life miserable. So you should still pay attention. Don't just try to get away from it all completely.
Yeah. No. And enjoy a meal once in a while too. I mean, enjoy the good stuff.
A nice meal is a good
maybe
like people we haven't done that in a while, by the way.
And we need to.
Our rebellion breaks.
Yeah. What, Rest and Rebellion?
R&R. Rest and Rebellion, yeah.
Yeah, you need to stick around one of these evenings. And, it's Friday. I don't know what you're doing, but...
I have plans afterwards, but...
See, and this is why this doesn't work.
Next time.
Anyway, we've got... I'm going to let you pick the first subject, Banks.
Okay, I want to make fun of somebody. So I'm going to choose...
It's so unlike you.
I'm going to choose Elizabeth Warren.
So
of course,
a target.
Of course, I'm being facetious, but so there was this equality town hall that all the Democrats went through the other day. It was on CNN. It was sponsored by Equality. It's that blue square with the thing.
Boy, did everybody act accordingly?
Everybody. It was like a beep show. I couldn't find a word, so
I call it crap show.
Thank you.
I always feel bad about saying crap show. I feel like I'm not being honest. Like I just want to say it.
And one of the big things that happened is there was a few protests during the town hall. Mm-hmm. You had this black trans woman named Blossom, who everything's going fine. Don Lemon is interviewing or asking questions of, I think it was Buttigieg maybe. Mm-hmm. Or some one of the candidates, and she just takes the microphone from this one woman who was asking a question in the audience, and just goes on a tirade of nobody's listening to our brothers and sisters, black and black trans women and men, and this is a disgrace. And you would think in an organized setting, people would be like, whoa, stop here. Let's get some security, somebody who does the manhandling and stop the problem. But because of the atmosphere, especially this is an equality town hall, mm-hmm. Don Lemon just hands her over the microphone at one point. And she takes the microphone.
Do you think as he's doing this, that the producers are like, no, don't do it. Don't, Don, what are you doing?
I would love to know what the producer is saying. I would guess that the producers are not saying that, because in that one, I would guess we're saying, whoa, don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything where the SJWs are going to jump down our throat. Be careful, okay? Let the wild animal... Whoa, that's probably going to... I sound really bad now.
Wow, Banks.
I'm painting another picture in my head.
Yeah. This is
anybody who knows me knows that that's not what I meant. But let the crazies. Oh, that's worse. Let the insane people. Ooh, here I'm just jumping down a rabbit hole of epic proportion, Shane.
Yeah.
But let them be. So she takes the microphone, and then she proceeds to say, "This is a disgrace. We need the black trans men and women to be able to talk. None of us have gotten a question yet. This is how the media shuts out black people." After the black person who's on screen just gave her a microphone, and so that's what this whole thing looked like. And at first, I thought we might listen to all the and there was another one, a protest. I think it was Beto who was getting a question, and Anderson Cooper who was asking the question, and these people came out and said Black Lives Matter, Trans Lives Matter. They had some flags, and
of course they did.
they almost got into a kerfuffle with the people on the front row, and it was Buttigieg. And Buttigieg and Cooper, you can't see what's happening, but they're both like, whoa. It seemed like they were scared for a second, but they still did nothing. And then Cooper was actually like, you know what? Protesting is a good thing. I applaud you. Just the weirdest thing ever.
Do you remember when the SJWs were down here in Atlanta, and they were like, "Can we please not, I don't know, clap or whatever, and can we please use proper pronouns?" Like,
well, that was the Socialist Democratic Convention.
Yeah, it's all the same group. And the thing is I think the people in the hierarchy of the propaganda, Don Lemon, maybe not so much. I think Don Lemon's kind of an idiot, but the people that are putting these idiots on TV, they know, like, okay, guys. I mean, you got to imagine back in the green room before this goes live. Like, listen, we're in a town hall situation. Like this is gonna get serious. We can't let these guys get out of control. Like they know that if we just start handing off microphones, it's gonna be a crap show. I mean, really, it's going to devolve. We're going to start eating each other because everybody is disenfranchised. They're all victims, and they're just going to sit there and be like, this one lady, which I can't wait to hear because it's.
Oh, I actually don't have it pulled up anymore because I was like, it wasn't as interesting to hear after looking at it.
It's predictable.
It's basically just like.
My intersectionality is greater than your intersectionality, and you guys aren't listening.
So it's protest for nothing because it's not like if there's like a cop station and the cops did something bad and you go protest the cops. It's not like they're protesting the mainstream media won't tell us the truth.
It's just a big echo room.
They're protesting people who are already supporting them, which you can understand through the befuddled faces of Anderson Cooper and Don Lemon, just like,
all right,
what's happening here? So I protest, a virtuous, righteous protest. Good thing. Go protest the Hong Kong government. Go protest the American government. Go protest governments. But why would you? It's like if one of our listeners came here and did a protest in the middle of our episode. It'd be like, I don't know, Quest. What's going up, man? I'd just be that weirded out.
Yeah. No,
and Quest is totally the type of person who would do that.
Come in here and protest. Well, good thing we're not live.
I'm sorry, Quest. I'm just playing. But so yeah, what I did want to play is Elizabeth Warren. So I just want to talk about the protest. That's what happened. There were a few questions that didn't get protested, and this one is. I
think we need to start going to some protests. By the way, I've been meaning to bring that up to you. I think you and I, microphone, camera, going down to some protests, right, left. I don't give either way.
I'm open to that.
I think doing that and then publishing some of that kind of stuff would be really kind of fun because I think a lot of people who do it not well. I think one of the best people out there that does it is Steven Crowder. And I think when he sits down and he has these reasoned longhand conversations with people, it's great.
It is.
Other people like Charlie Kirk who just sit there and want to be right all the time and are extremely biased in the way that they approach.
Well, they're snarky for the sake of snarkiness instead of I don't mind people being funny, and Crowder can definitely be funny.
He's great.
Okay. But he's never, especially during those Change My Minds, he never seems snarky for no purpose.
No, and the thing is, he seems extremely, what's the
fair?
word? He's not only being fair, he's being empathetic. And he it's very Joe Rogan-esque almost, where he's like, help me understand you. And then
I see that.
And I see that with that. What I don't see with the Charlie Kirk with his arms crossed, sitting there like trying to hammer these guys and destroy them.
The Charlie Kirk is usually in an orchestrated environment already.
A lot of times
where
it is.
He's put himself in a position to crush people.
But I've seen him try to pull Crowders where he's sitting behind a table with Candace and stuff, and I'm sitting there and go like. You got some pretty valid points, but at the same time, because you have selective truth a lot of times, or half-truths, like it doesn't ring fair. Anyway, just a thought in terms of protest and all that kind of stuff.
I'm totally up for that. There's a debate for the 7th Congressional District next week, I guess.
Sure.
End of next week that we are going to ostensibly go to, I guess.
I think so.
And I think we should, it'd be a little bit different. It's not a protest. Unless I make it one. But I think we should get there before and ask some questions as we've talked about.
Well, it actually probably air the same. It'll happen the same day this airs, next Friday. So.
Anyways, here is Elizabeth Warren getting asked a question from, what's his name? Who did the Fredo, who got all bent out of shape when he was called Fredo.
Oh, yeah.
Cuomo.
Cuomo.
Yeah.
Cuomo.
Investment firm in Dallas, Texas. He is the chair of the Human Rights Campaign Board of Directors. Morgan, thank you.
Chris,
Hi,
thank
Morgan.
you so much. Hi, Senator. Thank you for being here. Let's say you're on the campaign trail and you're approached. You have been, yes. And a supporter approaches you and says, Senator, I'm old-fashioned, and my faith teaches me that marriage is between one man and one woman. What is your response?
Stop.
Well, I'm going to assume it's a guy who said that.
Stop. She's already assuming. So, what should her answer be, Red Deer Banks? Instead of, I'm assuming it's a fella that said this here.
So it's interesting because
She goes right to the intersectionality. But
so she does the assumption. I think she's trying to be funny, or she's just being whatever. Mm-hmm. She thinks she's being snarky or smart or whatever. She actually goes in the right direction, which is what I was going to try to surprise you with.
What is the right direction?
The right direction is you do whatever you want to do, man, as long as you're not harming other people.
Yeah, marriage shouldn't.
I'm assuming it's a man too. Whoa.
Here's the other thing: here's the answer that I would be looking for out of the ideal candidate is marriage has nothing to do with government, and marriage should never be defined by a government, and there should never be picking winners and losers based on that definition. The government is not in the marriage business. Period.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
Ideal candidate?
Ideal candidate.
She knocking it out of the park here?
No, but
Oh man, I'm let down.
It goes. It's an interesting transition, which is why I picked it. So she says she assumes it's a man.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, then just marry one woman.
So and this is where I'm like, well, that seems like we could all get along because that's the right answer. It's not as eloquent and deep as, hey, the government shouldn't be involved in the first place.
Sure.
We got this like bent out of shape, but that is the correct answer. It's like if somebody says that to you, it's almost a little bit snarky. I've used the word snarky a lot. It's like, oh, you think marriage is between a man and a woman? Then marry a woman if you're a man. Marry a man if you're a woman. Cool.
Nobody cares.
Like
Yeah.
that's. Then she gets
I'm
it.
cool with that.
I'm cool with that. Let's have a beer. I'm going to go over to my beer fridge and get a beer. We're going to try to drink it comfortably. That's a lot of applause.
Assuming you can find one.
So she makes a joke at the end.
Damn.
Which I would see a lot of conservatives getting pissed off at that joke.
Yeah.
It's actually funny. I didn't know she could be funny.
A little butt hurt. Are we allowed to say that?
But the problem is you've made all this, and I think it's your truth, the truth that you said earlier that is the most important point, is making her funny and people clapping because that was funny. She said a part truth that, well, if that's what you liked, then you should marry what you like. It's missing the whole understanding of, well, the government shouldn't be involved in the first place. Why are we talking about it?
Yeah. What are we doing here? Why is the government involved in doing this, man? Like, yeah, these social contracts that are, I don't know, put out there and there's a third party, the third party being the government, especially with marriage. My gosh. I mean, I've talked about it before in the show. Government's a religion. It's a religion. And if you're not in line with the religion, then there's heresy and you're a heretic. And now you're ostracized. They're going to come to your house, take your stuff by force, maybe throw you in a cage. And if you resist it hard enough, kill you. But
so here's the second clip from this Equality Town Hall. And that will be all. The other ones, it was pretty damn boring.
Well, it's the Democrats. What are they going to say?
They all wanted more government.
$16 an hour. Oh, I'll give you $17 an hour. That's all they do. They just buying votes.
The thing towards the end that I won't do a video of was Kamala Harris says that she will end HIV/AIDS. So
good for her.
Apparently, if she's president, it just happens.
Well done, Kamala. You got to pull out all the stops when you're last.
But this one is Beto O'Rourke. He's been asked. He's asked a question by Mr. Don Lemon.
Also doesn't get enough coverage and is controversial. And I'm talking about conversion therapy, which is a widely discredited practice that seeks to change a person's sexual orientation or possibly their gender identity.
Yeah.
Should this be illegal? And if it is illegal, what should the punishment be?
It should be illegal. As president, we will seek to outlaw it everywhere in this country. In my opinion, this is tantamount to torture. A torture that we're visiting on children who are absolutely defenseless.
So I'll start out by saying I could see how it could be torture.
I didn't realize he was talking about kids there in the question.
He wasn't specifically talking about kids, but I think people realize that when you send somebody to a conversion therapy thing, like an adult is not going to let somebody send them there. I guess you could you could put yourself in one of those things, but I think usually it's kids. And again, I thought
just questions, in terms of your kids, you have rights to your kids, right?
You have, I think Dave Smith's explanation is the best in this thing. Is you're holding their rights kind of in escrow,
right?
Which means you have a responsibility to protect those rights,
sure,
in a responsible way that you would want done the same to you, kind of thing.
Sure. So, I mean, what's the difference in this and sending your kid to a camp he doesn't want to go to?
So this is kind of, I had a whole plan here. You're breaking down, buddy.
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding. It doesn't matter that much. He gets part of it right. I think a lot of it, how I've heard things happen, can be torturous and are things that
I agree
that should not happen.
Trust me, I don't agree with sending your kid to what is it called?
Conversion therapy.
Conversion therapy. Like I don't agree.
But I think he misses the bigger picture, which would help people understand on a larger frame instead of just having like these blinders on where it's like we need the politician to tell us if this particular thing is bad or not. It's like, okay, harassment, abuse, torture, whatever you would do, sleep deprivation, things that you are not allowed to do to somebody because it is their body and their property. And if parents do this to their child, even if they theoretically have their children's rights in escrow, it's still a crime. That's what's illegal.
Yeah,
not the government deciding each individual thing. It's like, oh, that camp's illegal and this camp's not illegal, and maybe like what they come up with next. Even if we can agree on one thing now.
Boy, that's a tough one for me, man. Like it's a tough one for me because I don't think a kid should ever have to go to something like that. I mean,
no, I don't think so either.
And I don't think the government should be deciding it either. But and so I guess my struggle is, all right, thinking through this, how does this happen in a free society? How do we respect the child? How do we respect the parents and holding those rights in escrow in a free society? How do we balance this?
I've heard some hypotheses. And
like hippopotami?
one that was kind of wishful thinking, but I'm very prone to wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Eternal optimist.
Sometimes
is that in a free world, and I forget who made the arguments, but they went on to explain all these ways the world would be so much better with just a free market, right? Mm-hmm. Like we wouldn't have all this coercion. There'd be more prosperity and more money, so people would have more opportunities to help people. It's like there would probably be private solutions that would offer ways for kids. We're talking about kids specifically, not about conversion therapy, but like kids who are like abused by their parents and stuff like that. There would be a free market incentive, nonprofit, all this kind of stuff for opportunities for kids to get help. And it would be very easy. Like if a kid is being sent to conversion therapy and he's being tortured, he'd have like a hotline he could call and be like, hey, I'm in trouble. And then when the kid if the parent tried to be like, hey, that's my kid, there would be very little protection for the parent if the parent was doing something wrong.
So I guess my question is with abuse, right? If that's something we consider abuse, or I think
most people do.
Well, let's just say what the kid thinks is abuse, right? Like, all right, this is one of those things where we can look at this and say, if this kid is objecting to this and he's reaching out for help and believes that this is abuse, then there should be some sort of, there should be something he or she should be able to do to protect themselves as well. And so I guess we get back to the point where we've talked about it in the past is just because we don't have the imagination to come up with a solution right here and now doesn't mean that the market can't come up with it.
And the market wouldn't be perfect either. But is it perfect now?
No.
And does a solution that apparently is the great solution that most people default to is also doing the abuse? So it's like, how's that a solution? The premise is just like in a more free and prosperous society, the cultural norms there are cultural norms. It's not democracy exactly, but it is like the majority would say like, hey, if I think parents are kind of in control of their children, but if I see a parent, I don't know, punching their kid, I'm probably going to try to stop him.
Sure.
I like the paradigm has kind of shifted. So there would be more opportunities and more people with more that could help children.
Yeah.
And those people would be not inclined to help the parents who inflicted that on them.
Do you think this is I mean, seriously, in this day and age, do you think this is a big thing? I mean, do you think
conversion therapy thing?
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's probably like statistically small, but I'm sure it happens.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm sure there are worse things that happen just in households, though.
I agree. I feel like this is a first world problem for sure. I feel like, and hear me out here, conversion therapy, I don't think this is going on in a lot of like second, third world type countries out there. Like there's no such thing as conversion therapy. There are probably
in that same sense, yes, there's probably a lot of indoctrination, but a little bit different.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could, look at some places in the world and go, yeah, they throw gays off of rooftops and stuff like that, which is
that's horrific, but that's a separate thing from this.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is at least you're not handling it that way, right? I don't want to make light of it. It's at the same time. I mean, because mental, torture can be mental, and I think if you're doing it the right way, most of the time torture is mostly mental to begin with. I mean, if you look at how the U.S. has done it in the past, it's mostly sleep and food deprivation and things like that. So it's mostly mental, but
it's more efficient too. You don't want to have to get out the chainsaw.
Yeah, it's weird.
I'm sorry I'm making jokes in the middle of this, but
dark humor. It's like food. Not everybody gets it. No, I think this raises. I mean, just the fact that old Pete.
So he goes more, and this is this was both things. I think he got a little bit of it right, and then he goes down the.
All right, let's hear where he goes wrong.
And so we're going to make sure that whatever the penalty is, it is steep enough to dissuade anybody from entering into this practice or being able to torture kids with the kind of impunity that we have seen so far. And we're also going to recognize that these kind of practices, in addition to the immediate torture that child or that person feels, also adds to other challenges that we have. When we look at homeless youth in America, 40% identify as LGBTQ in America right now. When we look at those who age out of the foster care system right now, some of them subject to these conversion therapy practices, their outcomes in life are not what they should be, in part because of the practices that we've allowed so far. So yes, we will outlaw, and yes, we will ensure that there are penalties stiff enough, enforcement vigorous enough to make sure that it does not continue.
Was that Pete Buttigieg, or was that?
No, that was Beto.
I was going to say, I was under the impression that was Pete from the beginning, but hearing his voice, it was definitely Beto.
So I stopped it because I didn't know where it ended, but at one point he says that there can be no reward, no benefit, or tax break for anyone or any institution, any organization in America that denies the full human rights or the full civil rights of every single one of us. So he's going in and he's making this about a tax thing, about just what people believe, and marrying the two together.
Oh, I'm about to destroy him.
It's such a horrific thing to do, because torture, we all agree, is bad. You're not allowed to torture people. Telling people what they think,
unless you're the state bank, slow down.
Even if what they think is wrong, is highly counterproductive at the very least, and I think is also wrong. It doesn't matter if somebody thinks, hey, marriage is only between a man and a woman, and you think that's wrong. If you then use force on him, you're at least just as wrong. Probably more, because you've used force and he's only just said something that might be wrong.
Right.
So
what's really interesting to me is the case that Beto has just made. And I say that because it puts a big smile on my face, right?
So you heard the word any institution, and then you put the government.
I not only said that, but I also heard him say their outcomes are not what they should be, right? Their outcomes are not what they should be. Mm-hmm. What comes to mind for me is the government indoctrination system. We are sending children to a government-sponsored indoctrination system for a minimum of 13 years, unless your bank's wise and somehow you're like, hey, this is not the student you're looking for. That's torture. For me, like, I'll tell you right now, my brother hated school. Hated with a passion school. And I will I'd probably have him in on the show right here and say, would you consider your education in government indoctrination torture? Guarantee he'd say yes, without a doubt.
I've heard Tom Woods make the argument that aside from school, there are many people who would not be confronted to bullying and so forth because you're not usually in normal life forced to spend time with people you do not like, right?
No.
And yet in school, you've got everybody, ostensibly everybody who there's people who don't have children, but you've got all these people there from all walks of life, and you're forced to spend time with them. And if you're unfortunately the person who's not as strong and so forth, to potentially be bullied. That's where most people get their bullying. As an adult, you don't get bullied usually on a daily basis whatsoever. And yet it happens to tons of children all the time, to the point that like it's a public outcry. People talk about it all the time. There's ads against it, all this kind of stuff.
You make a tremendous point. And I want to boil it down to principle again. If we just stuck to damn principles, we'd be okay. It's freedom of association.
Yeah.
I have never...
under coercion and duress, because people would say you don't have to go, like your kids are not in school, but yes.
Well, I mean, for 90+% of the population here in America, you are coerced in sending your children to a government indoctrination center at threat of force.
I might even say highly coerced, but yes, it's not exactly that, but it's very close.
There's no... There's no equal private sector, in other words.
Agreed.
And that's
equal opportunity because of this how the system is built.
So Beto is making the case, right, that we should not be forcing people to go to things that they are disagreeable with in their own conscience, which we talked about in one of the last programs. Mm-hmm. And now we're also talking about the freedom of association. Do you have the freedom of association? If you do, then you should not be forced to go to government indoctrination, because you're going to be around people that you cannot stand and have people in charge of you that you cannot stand and cannot get away from.
And just very, very important, but just as important is you're having your freedom of association, which is, I know basic freedoms are kind of important, taken away from you, so you're not able to make your own decisions. That's a disempowering. Like, you could sound like an SJW, be like where's the power? Power back to the people in this.
Power to the kid
in this. The little people. Like, how is a kid going to be able to operate in a normal world if he grows up having basic freedoms taken away from him? And I had never thought about it in the terms of freedom of association, but it's such a good way to put it. Like, we're taking freedom of association away from kids.
That's
on top of other things, like they're not allowed to say all the things they want. My sister in public school in France was told she couldn't wear her gold cross because there's a law in France that says you can't show what religion you're from in public spaces.
And here's the other thing is,
but yeah, it's crazy.
That and they talk about the Student Bill of Rights out there, and I don't know. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And that you don't check your rights at the door when you go into, a public institution. There's no magical portal where you lose a right you're born with just because you walk through some doors.
There is a reason why they would not even start to acknowledge this problem, though, because if they did, the truth would come out, and it'd be chaos. In their view, it'd be like, you can't just tell kids that they're allowed to associate with whom they want and don't have to come to this building. What's going to happen if that? Like, it'd be so great. Like, the whole paradigm would die if they came out and acknowledged freedom of association.
That's crazy. Your first step into the government indoctrination process is the repealing of your freedom of association. Think about that. It's not even something that, I mean, I've never thought about it that way. And I've actually thought about dusting off some John Taylor Gattos. If you haven't read John Taylor Gattos, oh my God, go and find whatever you can and read as much as you can from this guy. An absolute pillar in terms of understanding the education system and punching back in terms of what it does to the American culture and society and kids in general. But the the moment you walk through those doors, the moment your freedom of association is toast. Mm-hmm. Never thought about it that way until you just said that.
Cool. I'm glad we had that conversation.
That's really, I mean, my mind is now just got, things that are, I'm trying to pick out little things and pull them back into this conversation. But this, hey, Beto, I agree with you. I'm not going to say that very often, Beto. I agree with you that we should not be forcing kids into torturous situations, especially mandated by the state. Unbelievable point. Bravo. Way to go, Beto. I'm
nice one.
Probably never going to do that in history ever again.
So yeah, that was the Equality Town Hall. Those are my 2 takeaways, plus the fact that Kamala says that if she's president, she'll cure HIV/AIDS. Which, I mean, if I believe that, maybe I'd vote for her, because that'd be a good thing to cure.
Yeah, unicorns and rainbows and fairy farts or whatever. That's.
I don't see how the people don't acknowledge the pandering more. It's
really? Look at who she was. She was the top cop in California. Ugh. I thought she would probably do a lot better in this race, just because she is corrupt, she is connected, she's got a huge state population behind her in this whole thing, and I think people just see her for who she is. She's this unflattering, I don't know, she kind of seems like a wino to me,
I don't know what that means. Is that I'm thinking of wine.
Yeah,
somebody who drinks a lot.
Somebody who indulges a little too much. She's a bit sloppy in her delivery. It doesn't look like she takes this thing seriously.
I don't think she's sloppy. I don't think she's as smart as some people might think she is.
I think she's sloppy because she doesn't have principle. Like her agility to stand somewhere and defend a position is non-existent because she doesn't have principle.
Okay. I could see that. She is a little bit all over the place. But I kind of just assumed that was a lack of preparation or capability in preparing.
You go back to like what she was talking about on whatever those shows were where she got, asked about cannabis.
Charlemagne's show?
Yeah, the fact that she's locked
the Breakfast Club.
Yeah, tons and tons of people up for cannabis, and at the same time she's going to say, yeah, I use cannabis. It was it's like what?
But I don't think that would be abnormal for somebody who doesn't have principles.
Because
they're looking at they're looking at what's happening in front of them. Why wouldn't they accept that at face value? Bill Clinton is like, yeah, I did cocaine and nobody cares, and Obama actually got a boost from being like, yeah, sure, cocaine, cannabis. I did it. People actually thought it was kind of cool. So she's just emulating the same kind of thing,
and it came off fake,
assuming that that history is going to repeat itself.
History
usually does repeat itself. We're trying to fight against that history repeating itself, but we're not the most successful.
And so you had her, trying to do the whole populist thing by saying, yeah, I've smoked some cannabis, guys. Yeah, cool. And it came off fake because
and listen to some music didn't exist.
Yeah. It's totally fake. It's just like Elizabeth Warren. Hey, let's have that little beer here on Instagram. How do I work this over here? And then you go and get your beer, and you look, sucking it down the way she did.
Integrity matters,
contrived.
Man.
It's all contrived, and I think that's probably why she's fallen flat on her face. I don't know for the life of me, other than polls being rigged, how on earth somebody like Elizabeth Warren is now leading in those polls over there. It's
a culmination of circumstances of how the system is kind of built for one person to be crowned at a time, because the media is all trying to rush to get things right, / control things.
Yeah,
it's probably a mix of both.
I think it's. I mean, did you see this week also where Tulsi just kind of came out and said the DNC is one of the most corrupt organizations there is? Have you seen that?
I did not see that one.
Oh my gosh,
that's a good thing. I think she's making some bad decisions in how she's kowtowing, but that would be a good decision.
Yeah, she's talking about not showing up for the debate. She hasn't delivered one. Well, and this will be in the past, so maybe we've already seen something, but we're doing this. But yeah, with her saying that I might not show up for the debate, I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think, hey, show up and spank these people, but then
don't tell them in advance during the live debate. But just go on a tirade. She's not good at the tirades, though.
No, she needs a little more prep.
It's probably hard. Like, I wouldn't do good in front of tons of people and live camera, but she backs down considerably from the positions she has previously. Like,
calling people a bitch.
If she could just, like say what she says on Twitter, or even when she's on like Joe Rogan's podcast, she's pretty like, she's much more hardcore. And then she goes into this little like politician-y, like position and trying not to like be too offensive and so forth. It doesn't work for her. I'm not as, I used to be slightly impressed, and I'm.
Yeah, she said the DNC and the corporate media are rigging the election again.
I kind of like she called it the corporate media.
Yeah, I mean, corporate, crony.
Well, mainstream is just too... It's lost its
propaganda.
Flavor.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is mainstream. It doesn't even do justice in terms of, accurately describing exactly who those people are.
It doesn't, and the mainstream media, so that would be the more popular media, right? Mainstream.
The CIA-sponsored media.
No, there is mainstream media that is actually not our enemy. It's not impossible to get traction within the media, right? So CNN...
if they got to cover
Fox,
you, they got to cover you.
Fox, so forth. But I heard some the other day make the argument, Barstool Sports is like, they're one of the most popular, fastest growing... and they do like silly news, but they still report on like politics and so forth. It didn't exist 5 years ago, and it's pretty independent. And so competition is available. It's very popular and doesn't seem to be propaganda. So the mainstream media, part of it is not just corporate controlled. The corporate side of it that is embedded with the government, that's a very different subject.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. So yeah, there's the Equality Town Hall, and all the conclusions we got from it. Yeah, you have something for us?
I got some Rand Paul over here. This is breaking last Friday.
Is this a thumbs up Rand Paul or thumbs down Rand Paul?
I think this is pretty thumbs up Rand Paul.
Cool.
And like I think it may have been Michael Heiss, talking about the ability of Rand. He plays a little politics, but he's also a golfing buddy of Trump. And by the way, Trump's talking about anti-war stuff right now. So, boy, it's not my flavor sometimes, the Rand Paul of the Pauls, but sometimes he gets it right. He's on The View, which is another cringeworthy waste of, just oxygen thieves in general. But at any rate, Rand is discussing the troop withdrawal, and it's funny because Democrats, liberals, progressives, whatever the hell they're calling themselves today, and I hate to even... Liberal, I'm going to take that word back. They're not liberals. They're progressives. These guys are complete statists. They're arguing against Rand. And I don't know if you saw Meghan McCain on there the other day. Oh, another... even more cringeworthy than the whole host there. But... making the case that, now, we're going to betray the Kurds, and there's blood all over the hands of Trump and Rand and all these other guys.
I mean, I'm not that surprised. I used to be surprised because the left used to be anti-war at one point.
Yeah.
But if Trump does it, the left, most of them will find a way to say it's bad.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. Trump could like save a kitten tomorrow and be like, man, that dog must have died.
Dude,
and
that guy,
like, what dog?
That
what are you
guy
talking about?
Eradicate homelessness and child starvation and war all in the same day, and they'd still hate the guy. I mean, that's just who they are. So
you got a clip here for us?
Yeah, without further ado.
Nice.
We talked about his wanting to pull troops out of Syria.
Trump.
And everyone saying, if we do that, we're abandoning the Kurds. That's not a good idea. And a lot of folks are saying he crossed the line with a bad decision, but you don't say that. Why?
One of the things I've always supported about President Trump is actually one of the things I liked about President Obama, that we said we were overextended, that the Iraq war was a mistake. I think it's one of the reasons President Obama beat Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton had supported the Iraq war. I still think the Iraq war, regime change in the Middle East, and these wars are senseless. So does President Trump. He doesn't want to get us involved in another Iraq war in Syria. If anything, Syria is more complicated. The other is a practical concern. You have 50 soldiers. They're talking about moving 50 soldiers. Who goes to war with 50 soldiers? You have 50 soldiers and tens of thousands of Turkish troops amassing. The Turks are also allies. The Free Syrian Army were our allies for 7 years. They're allied with the Turks. The Kurds have been our allies. The Kurds, in all likelihood, are now going to be allies of Assad to try to carve out a place in Syria for themselves. It's a really complicated question. I guess from my perspective, I say any of these people out here, their kids have to go to war. War's not a chess game. People lose their limbs and people die, and I think it's the least we owe to the kids that we're going to send into this war. Why are we going to war and who are we fighting?
But isn't it?
All right, just for a moment, I'm going to stop it right there. Great, Rand. Absolutely. Minus your mock turtleneck, I think this is an outstanding.
Why does he wear those turtlenecks?
I don't know, man. Maybe it's to cover up some bruising or something that he got from that jackass who attacked him, but I think he was wearing them before that.
No, I think he was spot on. Very, like, he was eloquent. He made sure not to. I thought it was the move about Obama and comparing it to like that same thing he likes about both Obama and Trump was smart.
Candidate Obama. Candidate Trump, because let's face it.
Well, candidate / pandering Trump and and Obama, but he knows this, and this is where he plays politics. He'll be perfectly fine omitting that because he's like, I'm gonna admit, I'm gonna Jedi mind trick them into this.
And that's what he's.
Sometimes it falls flat on its face, but when it works, I will not criticize.
Yeah, and that's the thing is he's trying to use he throws in Obama in there to get these people to like, oh wait. Now he's associated the two together. This can't happen. Things are starting to short circuit. That little flicker in the light bulb. There's a problem. So let's keep going here.
Why are we going to war and who are we fighting?
But isn't there? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So if you have allies and they are working with you and fighting with you, and 24 hours somebody wakes up and says, "No, we're out." Right. Is that the right way to do this?
I think the way we look at war is we don't look at
No. Is that the right way to do it?
Let me answer the question.
Okay.
When we decide whether or not we're sending our young people into harm's way, we should obey the Constitution, which says we should declare war and put them in a war theater. But let me finish.
Okay.
And here's the thing about it, is if you ask these people, Lindsey Graham and the Cheney war and all these warmongers that want to stay at war forever, who are we going to declare war on? They don't know who. We're going to declare war on Turkey, our ally,
should we
the Free Syrian
walk
Army,
out
ally?
In the middle? It's like walking out.
We should never be there in the first place.
That's not the question, though. That's all good.
She's so repeating talking points that she doesn't hear, that she doesn't even acknowledge what Rand has now repeated 3 times, which is we're allies with all 3 parties there. Like the Turks, the Kurds, the Free Syrians. Like, could you acknowledge, like, which one are we not supposed to, when they get in conflict with each other, which one are we not supposed to betray?
Here's the other thing is,
it sounds like an entangling freaking alliance to me.
Well, not only that, but here's the other side of the dime, right? If we stay, who are we fighting? Are we fighting all 3 of them? Are we going to fight all 3 of our allies equally, or are we going to pick a side?
Or are we going to help all 3 of our allies equally while they fight? Is that possible?
Now,
no, it's not.
And now let's put some personal humanity in this. Those are Americans, and down to the brothers, husbands, nephews, cousins that are going to be on the front lines. And I guarantee you most of these guys are soft guys, okay, that have taken the biggest burden out of everybody in terms of their lives, their families, their communities, those type of things. Out of everybody in the military, they're going to be guys from Special Operations Forces. Somehow, some way, those are going to be the guys, or they're going to be some other combat arms that are out there who have also taken the brunt of this ridiculous, nonsensical, war that we've been in the Middle East for forever. So we're going to stick American men in the middle of 3 allies, quote unquote, to keep the peace. What are we, the UN? Like, this is what I have a problem with.
But she doesn't. It's not even to keep the peace, because she acknowledges.
I know.
No, but because she kind of acknowledges, hey, somebody's going to die, so that means that one of them is now a violent actor.
Yeah.
So it's not even keep the peace. It's in an impossible situation. What usually happens? Bad things happen in impossible situations.
Why do we need to pay?
We want to put more people in bad situations.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. Are we going to do this equally around the globe, or are we going to throw people into China? We're going to throw them into Russia. We're going to throw them into places like North Korea. Are you guys going to do this kind of stuff equally and apply your own thought process equally? And the answer is obviously unequivocally no. They cannot do it.
And they're inconsistent anyways.
And these people they don't understand the humanity side of this. They're divorced from it. These guys sit on their fat asses. I mean, and you look at this panel, Whoopi in particular. You want to talk about comfortable? You want to talk about one of the most outrageous people in this whole country. A person who's made it as big as Whoopi Goldberg. Seriously, have you seen some of Whoopi's movies?
I've seen some movies that I've enjoyed, I think.
Awful. They're terrible.
I'm pretty sure I've seen a movie or two.
The fact that she's gotten rich off of the American culture.
Well, the market decided they wanted to give her money.
Yeah, so. I guess. And the thing is she's sitting here.
I get your point.
As somebody who's got some intersectionality, who's Oh,
if they were consistent with when they talked about like privilege, yeah, she would totally acknowledge her privilege. But they're not consistent. We already went past that. They're not consistent.
Can't do it. Anyway, I'm gonna continue to play this. But this is where the train wreck begins to unfold.
But we're in there.
For so many years, the left agreed with me.
I am neither left nor right. I'm just American. I want to know, should we be taking, should we be walking out on people?
But here's the thing is, left and right have agreed in the past that regime change doesn't work. When we got rid of Hussein, we got chaos and more terrorism. When we got rid of Gaddafi, chaos and more terrorism.
But Senator, we're here now, though.
But
we're here.
Yeah. We're not really here. We got 50 people. We're not doing anything.
Yeah, but frankly, hold on.
Symbolic.
Hold on.
And that is why it kept Turkey from invading.
You tell their parents
Isn't that true?
You tell the parents of those 50 kids how great the symbolism was when a suicide bomber blows up all 50 kids.
But didn't it keep Turkey from invading?
No, I'm not.
Gave
you tell
Turkey
their parents.
The green light.
You tell their parents why they're there.
But isn't that true?
You tell their parents why they're there.
Isn't it true that Turkey did not invade?
How do you feel about the video that we're seeing of the?
All right, this obviously has devolved. I'm going to take a side, obviously. Like, really, I mean, yeah, they're not going to attack the U.S. because they understand if they attack the U.S., then they're going to feel some repercussions one way or another, right?
Well, then the problem there is if they really care about people, they would at least be able, you could go down that line and be like, okay, well, wouldn't it be just as bad if, like, Turks died and Kurds died? Like, dude, how do we want to just argue this on, okay, we're powerful enough to make sure that Americans are protected? How about we just don't cause chaos and death?
Why are we a part of this? That's the question. Why are we a part of this? Why are we a part of conflicts a world away? That's the problem I have with this. And why are we sacrificing more of our people?
Because government is big enough to do it, and government...
What I don't understand...
That's always the answer.
What I don't understand is how these useful idiots that these ladies are on The View, a bunch of clucking hens that have no idea about foreign policy, the reality of war, are going to sit here and justify putting American lives in danger still. This, to me, is...
They think that there's the part of like the service part of the military, and the value there is the default. It's like, well, that's worth it, and that's why we like venerate them and have parades and all that kind of stuff. That I don't think that calculation is happening in their brain. It's just like militaries exist, they do like dangerous things, and that's why we show them so much reference, and that calculation is made.
Yeah.
And they're also selfish because they can't internalize and be empathetic.
Yeah.
They're lacking something extreme there, because it's not that complicated. It's be like, imagine it's your child, or imagine it's somebody else's child. Like, oh, my child died, and I couldn't even pinpoint like what the purpose of his life at that point was.
Yeah.
And it seems like it was pretty messed up.
What I've got a quote for you. This actually comes from one of my old platoon members. He was a team leader. I'm going to leave his name off of this, but I read this the other day. I wanted to get your take on it.
In what context did you read it? I'm just curious.
As a friend, what do you mean?
I wondered if you had posted it before and like no,
he
this
posted
happened 5 years ago.
No, he posted it yesterday, and I thought it was pertinent to this conversation because of this. Anyone who wants to throw their half a cent out on the president's decision to withdraw troops from Syria, please plan on getting deleted if you feel the Syrians, the Kurds, are more important than our service members who are the ones losing their lives over there. It's easy to armchair quarterback when you sit at home on a couch or from your office in the city. If you haven't served, it's time for you to sit down and STFU. Sit down and shut the up. Okay? So what is your take on that?
The only part that I don't disagree with at all, but the rest I agree completely is the end. I think that anybody can have a position on morality, and even if tons of people are wrong, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to be a service member to get the right point. But I know where he's coming from, and I couldn't agree more. If you're not able to assess the situation correctly, which is you're sending people off to die, and you're not taking any of that responsibility whatsoever, then yeah.
Why do you think we do this in this world, man? Why do you think?
Because people suck.
No. Why do you think in America we don't listen to people who have been there and have done it and have the experience? And I'm not talking about a little. I'm talking about a ton. Like my buddy here, who had, I mean, God, retired as a sergeant major, for God's sakes, with a stack of ribbons and medals and badges and devices, that was an outstanding Marine. I mean, absolutely outstanding. Probably hard to beat in terms of, if you just had a cookie cutter that you wanted to make the best Marine, one of the best ones out there. Why is it when it comes to things like guns and war and foreign policy and things like that, why don't we listen to people who are really, really, really experienced? I mean, the people that could sit down and write books and tell you stories for years.
Because the propaganda is bigger. Because when there's a problem, taking responsibility for a problem is often not appealing to people. So the responsibility of having done nothing, having supported the status quo for decades potentially, all that kind of stuff is not something that is enjoyable. Like, what if I got it wrong? What if I was wrong about the principles of liberty? It'd be pretty damn uncomfortable to acknowledge that.
I just remember standing on stage, a couple of years ago when we went to that gun forum over in Gwinnett, right? On that stage, it was basically a ton of liberals and me, because no other conservatives would show up. I think we had one who was running like for city council or something.
No, it was. There was that one.
Well, one other Marine.
There was one Democrat Marine running,
but he didn't do.
Yeah,
he flaked out at the end. At any rate, what I'm getting at is, you can sit there and talk to people from a knowledgeable standpoint about, hey, listen, none of you guys are weapons experts. None of you guys have taught weapons safety. None of you guys know weapons and tactics. You don't understand any of this kind of stuff, and that's just mostly the crowd and everybody else here on the stage. But you're not going to listen to the one person that's actually here that has all the experience.
So I think part of that is based on basic truth, and the basic truth is that there was a trust difference. They intrinsically didn't trust you, and they intrinsically trusted the other people at least more.
Yeah.
And the truth is that even an expert can get things wrong, right?
Sure, I agree.
Hitler was an expert in political strategy, still very wrong.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so I think that's just it. They didn't trust you.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's weird. That's a weird thing,
so
right?
If it was the truth that every expert got everything right, then that would be different. But that's just not how the world works. So
do you go to non-experts for things you want advice on, though?
I mean, I listen to Dave Smith. So
did you? I mean, financial advice? Do you go to somebody who's
no? I'm just saying. But even if it was the case that experts got things 99% right,
yeah,
the human mind would still be able to tell. Well, they don't get everything right, and I don't trust that guy.
It's weird.
So.
Yeah, it's weird to me. Like, I mean, look at Amazon, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are more informed consumers these days because of things like Amazon, where you have a ranked system in terms of how great a product is that they buy.
For the most part.
Manipulated
by Amazon.
Still, for the most part,
agreed.
Let's just say they are. You go to a financial advisor for finance. You go to a doctor, a lot of times a health professional who has tons of experience in the field for things that have to do with health. Obviously, you don't go to the Rebellion for weight loss advice and things like that. That's a weird thing. But the overwhelming majority of the time, when things are really important in your life, you go see somebody who's an expert in them.
It's true.
Yeah, I
don't think that's wrong. I just think that it is like experts get it wrong all the time, and that is like the brain doesn't need much more of an opening to be like, well, this what this person says isn't categorically true, and if there's distrust there, you're gone.
It's crazy, huh?
Like, I'm sure there's people who have said intelligent things that I have discarded because I didn't trust them. Yeah. I try to be skeptical. I try. But
I really like your point that it's a trust issue, and it kind of, all right, yeah. You know what? That must be what it is. It's most of the time it's going to be trust.
I said this at the 3%ers group, and some people thought it was funny. It's actually just, it's not that funny.
You were trying to be funny.
I was like, the reason people win local elections, and it's more complicated at the higher level, but it's probably for the same reasons, is just because like they trust you, you smiled, you're nice. That's all, because you knocked on their door. That's the only reason. Most people are not voting because they agree with your positions or stuff. Most people are voting because they're like, nice guy. That's it. It's not more complicated than that.
Well, I think sometimes the simplest answer is the right answer, Banks. And so,
I'd probably vote for a few of my friends.
I can appreciate that.
Who I wouldn't vote for, if they weren't my friends. I wish that wasn't the case, but there's probably a few people there's probably some politicians who have taken a position I've been like, that categorically means I wouldn't vote for you.
Sure.
And for a friend, I might not have that category. Like, I hope I don't do that, but I have a feeling that I probably would.
Interesting.
Like you've got all those bad positions. I'd probably still vote for you.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that too. Trust, right? I'm going to play a little bit more of this.
Sure.
See if it gets any better, but it might just be some clucking and squawking here.
It's getting slaughtered.
I find the position of pulling out of these wars, that's a popular one, and I am there. There's a difference in having a strategy and leaving the Kurds there to die, which is where they are now.
She either knows that she's being completely disingenuous or she's delusional.
Well, you can't do both, right?
Well, it's like either you're delusional and you think that, oh, yeah, we're going to plan to get out of the war, because that never happens. Over centuries, or she knows better and she's just playing on people's emotions to be like, oh, look, she's reasonable, she wants to get out of the war.
You're aware of the 7 P's, right?
7 P's.
Piss poor planning prevents something performance.
Piss poor planning prevents piss poor performance.
No, that's
prior proper planning.
Yeah, so I've said it before. Prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
Maybe I made that up. You don't know.
Maybe you did. It's Matrix. Anyway, what we had talked about the other day was the sanctions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what might have been a little bit better in terms of planning here may have been said, hey, Turkey, this is what we're planning to do. And by the way, if you go in guns blazing against the Kurds, which we would like to foster, and maybe create an area where we can talk about peace instead, we're gonna level sanctions. Okay, so be forewarned. We're telling you right now, this is where we stand. There needs to be some holdback. There needs to be some peace. There needs to be cooler heads. I can understand maybe her point from that perspective alone, but in terms of how she's saying it's not coming across very well.
She's not giving any intention of that. She's being either, as
bombastic,
I said, intentionally dishonest, or just like flippant, like, oh, we have to. It takes time, man.
I'm all for getting out of these wars, but we can't do this. Yeah, I know.
If you're going to contradict yourself, you should explain why you're contradicting yourself. Like, I want to get out of wars, but I want to do it reasonably for these reasons, because I think that would be better in explaining it. If you don't do that, you're just being a little
seriously, this is a vacuum almost 20 years in the making. This is gonna suck for you punny people out there.
That's simply wrong. That's simply wrong.
ISIS fighters, as being reported, thousands are going to escape from these prisons because the Kurds can't protect
themselves.
Up to 70,000, according to a NATO official.
What's the people who don't like the policy?
Is that a safer world with ISIS running around?
That's the people who want to stay forever. These are the same people.
I don't want to stay forever, but
let me finish answering that question, okay? I let you talk. You let me talk. These are the same people. These are the same people that would still have us in Vietnam. These are the same people who always say, stay at war, stay at war, stay at war. It has not helped us. We've been in Afghanistan for 19 years. The same people complaining about this. The Cheneys, Lindsey Graham, you know what they say about Afghanistan? It would be precipitous to leave. We've been there 19 years. There's no mission, and I'm not sending one more kid.
But there's more questions.
We're breaking our word as Americans, of breaking our words to our allies, of having people who risk their lives.
How do people buy that? How do people buy that?
I don't know.
As Americans...
We're breaking our word. Guess what, guys?
Maybe sports teams is important because those people just need to go find like this we talk about and apply it to sports only and stay out of freaking politics.
Have you seen the latest Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? It's years old. It may even be close to it.
Any of them. I've read the books though.
So great books. I think Jackson actually just finished up the first book.
I think I read it when I was his age. I really I talked about that forever.
Loved it. And and he's actually watched quite a bit. And this is why it's kind of fresh in my mind. But Willy Wonka has saboteurs inside of his company, right? Mm-hmm. And so he fires everybody. See you later. I'm going to close down my shop. I'm going to bring everything internally right now, and we're going to fix things, right? And that's the last time people see Willy Wonka until the golden ticket thing. Willy Wonka's got his shop dialed in, man. Like, this place is running like a dream. He's got a chocolate waterfall. It's an amazing place. I kind of think that's what America needs. I'm not saying that we don't need to trade with anybody. And I know the Liberty, crowd always gets hammered for being isolationists. We're not isolationists. And make sure if you're in the Liberty crowd and somebody says you're an isolationist, point out, no.
Well, here's the thing. Even if America did what you said and had a pullback, it doesn't mean that if the government pulls back, trade doesn't happen. I can promise you that if America tomorrow got rid of all the tariffs, all the trade agreements, all the stuff, trade would still happen. You know what? Because people want stuff.
Yeah, and they travel and they move, and there are needs, and they want to make money, and there's a million.
Even when there's barriers, like even when the government's like, you can't have that plant, people go to extreme lengths. Okay, they build submarines and put them in their shoes and
bananas.
Okay, they find ways.
Yeah,
trade will still happen.
Trade is going to happen, and we're not isolationists. I think we all there has to be a little bit of a reset here, and it's not trade, it's our foreign diplomacy, it's our foreign affairs. Hey, listen, our foreign affairs have been out of whack. I don't know, golly, since at least World War II minimum.
Oh, way before that.
Well, yeah, I mean, but like we can literally say at least they were declaring war back then. Now we can't say that, and so hey, let's have this. Let's pull back. Let's reset, and let's think about this a little more objectively without these jackasses like this. I mean, it just seems to me at this point that these ladies get out here and they take their marching orders and they take a side that they're told to take, and they defend it no matter what they look like. And I mean, golly, poor Rand, man.
The problem is if they're made to look stupid, but all the people around them cheer for them, they probably don't even know that they look this stupid.
Lemmings,
or this evil.
They're absolute lemmings.
A lot of them are.
Shall we continue a
Sure.
little bit?
Years. And what message does that send internationally to other allies if we abandon them?
I think the only duty we owe and the only oath I take is to the Constitution. I didn't promise to take the country to war. I promised not to take the country to war. So did President Trump, by the way.
But the Constitution says protecting you from enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yeah.
And there's many of us who feel that this puts us in greater danger because of what it means vis-a-vis ISIS. I mean, we don't live, we're not alone on this planet.
And anybody who tries to make the argument that someone in Syria is a danger to our country is really not paying attention.
Oh, I think Assad is in Syria and is a hell of a danger to our country and our world.
Well, actually, if you look at the war is very complicated. So you had Assad on one side. On the other side, you had Sunni extremists, Al-Qaeda and al-Nusra. These are the people that have been allied with the Saudi version of Islam that has been promoting Islamism and Islamist strategy around the world and jihadism. That was the side of the war we were fighting. So if that side of the war actually won, I think we actually might be in more danger. I don't like Assad, but the other people on the other side are Sunni extremists that I don't like either.
How close is too close for Iran to be near Israel? Because this now...
What?
All right, wait.
What happened?
Yeah. So
he makes an awesome point, directly addressing what she just previously said, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you made a point. It was stupid. I'm going to show you how. I'm not even being arrogant. And then we just go to Iran.
Well, and that's the thing. The fight's lost, right? And so it doesn't... This is what they do here. They deflect from the other person losing the point that they were making. He... Slam dunk, tomahawk chop, whatever. Like, this guy crushes, just shuts her down and says, listen, my oath, the president's oath, everybody else is duty and honor bound to the Constitution of the United States, period. I used to say it all the time, like the 545 members of our own government are the biggest danger to the republic. And I've seen enemies on the battlefield, man. Like, this is no kidding. He is exactly right. These people in Syria, the people in Russia, the people in China, these are not the threat. The people who are the biggest threat to America are under the rotunda in D.C. and within the bureaucracies that are funded by those people.
He makes such a good point. She then gets it completely wrong about the Constitution. She just quotes a little bit about, foreign and domestic enemies. And he does the empathetic thing, smart thing, to just accept that at face value and be like, okay, I disagree. But if we're taking this threat at face value here, your hypothesis, here's why you'd be wrong on the threat side too. You're wrong on the Constitution side. You're wrong on who is more of a threat. And then Iran.
I wish
unbelievable.
I wish he would have at least stopped and paused just for a second and said, "You're moving on to a different subject." Right? Like, she just goes right into Iran after Israel.
Or should have said something like, so these are not the logical points you're looking for.
That's right, man. Complete deflection. So
wow.
Let's hear Iran here.
Can I ask you something,
that I don't like either.
How close is too close for Iran to be near Israel? Because this now creates a huge vacuum where Iran wants to take over Damascus, which is what they're now going to be capable of doing, and they're going to be that much closer to Israel, which is, in fact, one of our closest allies. Does that concern you at all?
I think the whole situation is so confusing that none of us are really getting this right. Actually, Turkey doesn't want Iran to take over everything. Israel doesn't want Iran to take over everything. And, in fact, Israel actually stands up for themselves all the time.
We may end up being in a bigger war.
Let me finish. Don't interrupt. So Iran gets up against the border.
I'm sorry, Senator.
So
I am interrupting
Iran comes up against the border, and Israel pushes it back.
And Whoopi ends it. Whoopi ends it because they are getting absolutely annihilated. They go to commercial. They're getting annihilated, right?
He's done an excellent job.
He did, and hats off to you. I mean, that's all I'm going to play of this whole thing. But when these guys get in trouble, when the propaganda machines get in trouble and the useful idiots get in trouble, you got a panel of 4 ladies there that cannot even come close to seeing what the truth is, right? Like they cannot acknowledge the truth.
Well, they're in a confrontation, which makes it harder for them.
Well, the thing is why? Why are they in confrontation with a senator who's...
Well, they're in confrontation because they're just defending blindly or attacking blindly Trump. So that put them to the confrontation. They're sliding down like a ravine, okay? It gets harder and harder. I don't mean to be super empathetic with them because I find the whole thing just amazing, jumping from subject to subject. And I wonder if Whoopi at the end there, because Rand, I think, said 2 or 3 times, like, hey, don't interrupt. I'm talking, which is a dangerous thing to do because usually
a woman,
especially a woman,
a black woman, a white man. Don't interrupt me, black woman. That's what they're going to portray it as.
He does it in a way that kind of worked. I was surprised. every time he was like, hey, I talked, you let me talk. I was assuming something bad was going to happen, and it worked. I wonder at the end there if they actually needed a break, like a commercial break, or if Whoopi was like, man, he said again that we're not going to interrupt him. I'll show him, and just like shut it down. I wonder if that was the internal like feeling.
I think it would have been a producer whispering, in the earpiece saying, hey, we got to shut this thing. We're going commercial right now. Shut it down. Like that, and let's regroup for the next little segment, and we'll come back and do it again. And I saw another segment earlier, and it's more of the same crap show, man. At any rate, that concludes the Rand Paul.
I'm really glad you brought that to our attention. That was I'm proud of Rand. I know I said like a thumbs up or thumbs down. The way I take Rand is
it's tough.
He just sometimes does good things, sometimes does bad things. Not good and bad on a moral thing, just like strategic wise. He kind of misses the ball 50% of the time, but the 50% of the time where he doesn't, it is some good stuff.
I'll tell you what, if you're out there and you're in the political realm, especially at the U.S. federal level, and you want to hire some political advisors to help you where you're never going to lose a battle to somebody like this, Banks and I we're available.
I would love to do that. I mean, we had a lot of fun with that during the campaign.
I think we'd be great at it too. I would. I mean, seriously. And here's what I promise you: if you go out there and you take the advice that we give you, you're gonna knock it out of the park. One way or another, you're gonna knock it out of the park.
Agreed.
Guaranteed, or your money back.
Sure.
We are the judges of what your performance is like. At any rate, Banks, that's 122. You wanted to talk to me about The Matrix a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're going to go to that one. So I watched it the other day.
Just refreshing yourself?
Yeah, it's my favorite movie. It's tied with 3, but it is my favorite.
Do you ever have any deja vu?
I have deja vu all the time.
I'm kidding. It's part of the movie.
I know, but I do have deja vu all the time. It freaks me out. But and I was working, I think, just doing some numbers, and I had time to like think while I was working.
Mm-hmm.
And the scene that I had watched the previous night came back to me. I was like, I don't know if that's right. I don't know if I agree. So I want to play you something, then I want to ask you if you agree or whatever percentage you agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have no idea. I thought about it so much, and now I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know what I think.
All right.
So here goes this little part from The Matrix, which is probably within like the first 20 minutes of it. It's such a good movie. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it.
Yeah, this crowd has seen it. Right in the car.
Is a system, Neo. That system.
No, he's
walking down the street.
He's walking down the street, and there's tons of people coming the other way.
Simulation, yeah.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress? I was. Look again.
So this is Morpheus and Neo. Morpheus has brought Neo, who's still learning about the whole system, into a simulation to kind of show him that
kind of the reality
who's the bad guy.
The reality, basically, it's every Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith can be
anybody.
Can be anybody,
right,
because they're plugged to the system, so he can take over their bodies basically. But as I'm sure you notice, like the question there, the thing that I'm unsure about is he talks about how the system is the enemy. Do you agree with that?
The system is the enemy, for sure.
Then he goes on to say these
Everybody
people are part of the system, and as long as they're part of the system, even though their minds are the ones that we're trying to save for, I don't know, freedom and prosperity and a wonderful world, as long as they're part of the system, so plugged into the Matrix, and you can make the connection really easily with people who support the system or apathetic, and here in this world today, that they're the enemy, and I just want your thoughts on that.
It's difficult, right?
It's so difficult.
I struggle with this one because I can play both sides of this. I mean, through example, right?
I'd love to hear both sides.
God, I have some tremendous friends that do not align with me politically. I mean, since kids, we're just politically we're different, and that's become a very common theme in my life. Of just most people are not ready for the responsibility that comes along with being a free person, and they're definitely nowhere near where I'm at. Like me, I'll tell you, man. Like as I grow and I learn, the more I have trouble with being a slave to the system. Right? Like I really, really have problems with that too. And
I'm just laughing because it's
and I think there's probably a lot of people out there nodding their head right now, like just, hey man, I'm tired of it too. Like I'm tired of being a slave to the system because basically I'm paying them to leave me the hell alone. Right? I'm a productive member of society, so they leave me alone. Until I'm not a productive member of society
in the way they want you to be.
Exactly right. And so it compounds things. So I have friends that I would never, ever, ever consider an enemy. And we talked about loyalty in the past, and I think, loyal to a fault, a lot of them are in terms of, I think those people, because of the friendship and the way we know each other so intimately, that they would never, ever use the state against me. They'd sacrifice themselves if the state ever tried to get to me through them. Mm-hmm. But completely different ideology. So I can obviously discount it on the one hand and say, no, not everybody who's still plugged in is an enemy. Like I don't believe that. Mm-hmm. However, I have faults, acquaintances, friends, or whatever. Like I say, they're not friends, right? They're people who want something. People who kind of act friendly. They just want something that you can tell are just they've got their own agenda, and it's not the liberty agenda. It's an agenda for power the way they see power, right? Like as liberty people, we always talk about, the idea that, we want to take over the world and leave everybody alone, right? That's a different type of power. And I hate to say it, but that's not most people, man. That's I think 90% of the U.S. Let's just stick in the U.S. I don't think 90% of the U.S. is there. Maybe 10% is. I don't know. Maybe it's less than that. But I do see some of these people that I can shake hands with, can go to dinner with, that I can have pleasant conversations with, that I wouldn't trust as far as I can throw them, that I would definitely sit there and say, yeah, this is an enemy. That is a weird thing as well, right?
It is.
And under any circumstances outside of politics, without the subject of politics ever coming up, I think we'd probably get along wonderfully. But for me, when people who are in politics, who want to run roughshod and have control and have power and pick winners and losers, and through legislation and force, that they are an enemy of mine, and I hate that. I don't want that, but at the same time, I hate being a slave more, and I hate enslavement and torture and war and the state running people's lives more than I would hate not only sacrificing myself to fight those same people. Like that's just the way I think it is. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a dichotomy. It's an interesting choice of words. It's a great scene, but I mean, yeah, I mean that circle, man, it's a small circle of people for sure.
I appreciate the insight. My brain is like trying to put things together better and still failing. The reason it kind of came up and seemed important to me is because, I guess, kind of back to truth. The other day I listened to Nick Fuentes is his name on the on the Part of the Problem podcast with Dave Smith. Mm-hmm. And apparently he used to be a libertarian. Sounds a lot like a alt-right racist prick to me. And like, I'm not the one who says that about just random people just because they sent a mean tweet or something. Like, I don't think Donald Trump is an alt-right racist prick. I think he's a prick, but that's another subject.
Yeah, he's just self-absorbed prick.
But this guy said he used to be a libertarian and now he's this. And so I've got this fear now, which is probably not good to like just harbor fears. I got this fear is like, if we don't get it right within our little, unfortunately, smaller circle of this is the liberty movement, like I don't, and a lot of liberty people like this movie. And I'm not trying to be like, hey, I'm your overlord who tells you like what to think and how to analyze movies, especially. But I think it's dangerous. This is kind of the default side I'm going on to. I think it's dangerous to consider everybody an enemy. It puts like this barrier into creating the peace that we think is good, right? Peace is what we want. We do not want confrontation.
We don't want violence.
Yeah.
We don't want force.
Yeah, I guess you get a confrontation with words, and that's fine. But yeah, we want no violence, no aggression.
Sure.
No.
We want
no unwanted, no reasonable violence, and no unwanted aggression.
We want respect for life and property.
And I think viewing people as enemies, while it might not be wrong in the analysis of how he's saying it, how these people are going to potentially do things that support a system that you're fighting. Okay, I get the circle there, but viewing people as enemies, I think puts a barrier on us into creating a world where that's peaceful, that doesn't have violence.
How the hell in the world do you know who's salvageable and who's not?
Yeah, you don't know. You don't even know if that's how things work. That some people are salvageable, some people are not. Like, I don't know how the system works exactly, but I just know that if you think somebody's your enemy, like if you keep on repeating that or just accept it enough, I don't know, that just makes it just seems like the solution is gone. There's no solution if you actually think that everybody, especially not just some people, that everybody is your enemy. So as much as I like The Matrix, for whatever reason, this time that I've watched it, which is like, I don't know, 30 times maybe, I was like, that one rubbed me the wrong way.
Maybe we need some conversion therapy for those type of people. I kid.
So yeah, I still don't have a good thing because I understand. I don't know how to explain it better, but I do think that people should be careful about going down that line too easily because and I think it's not good for your brain. You have to be a little bit more optimistic.
I agree. You know what they say: fear is the path to the dark side, Banks, and fear leads to anger, and anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering.
Who said that? Was it in that order too?
It was.
What was it?
That's Yoda.
Yeah, but I thought he said it in a different order.
No, that's it.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thanks. But yeah, so that's my little Matrix thing. If you have not seen The Matrix and watch it for the first time, please send us your impressions. I would love to hear what you like. I wish I could go back and watch it for the first time. I was like 14. I watched it on DVD.
Wow. By
myself one night.
I think it was 2007 before I ever saw The Matrix.
Really?
I didn't see anything from about 2001 until about 2006.
I wonder why.
I was busy.
I met a Force Recon guy at the 3% meeting, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, really. He's a younger guy. He's 32.
Okay.
He was in from 2003 to 2008 or 9.
East Coast guy or West Coast guy?
East Coast guy.
Oh.
I said Shane Hazel, and he was trying to figure out if he
loser. No, I'm just kidding. No, hey man, cool if you're listening and you're in the area here, I'll tell you what, have another Recondo come in and maybe hang out for a little bit, maybe tell some war stories because we haven't done that in a while.
I actually said if you were ever comfortable doing war stories, that I'd love to have him on. He said he'd think about it. He said a few stories there that I don't think he's necessarily allowed to say in public. He was talking about being in Venezuela and some weird stuff.
Yeah, so well, we're not going to get into that on the show. But I'll tell you right now, I
didn't say his name, so I hope it didn't.
I've got some buddies who listen to the show out there. Brian, Todd, and gosh, Billy, if you guys are out there, and I mean, I know for sure that those guys are listening.
When you say Billy, you mean Sanford?
No. But no, Billy as well.
I'd love to have Billy Sanford.
Oh, he's hysterical. But you guys, if you ever want to come on the show, especially from our past, contact me. I mean, you can reach me on Facebook or anything like that. But I would love to have a lot more of those guys on to start telling some of our stories. Like that we, the fun stuff. I actually started writing a book a while back. I don't know.
Cool. You didn't tell me that. Can I read it?
Yeah, I'll send you a couple chapters. It's called Swift, Silent, Hilarious. The reconnaissance logo from First Force used to have Swift, Silent, and Deadly on it, but we didn't want. Well, me and my buddy Mike, we didn't want to write a book that was, really heavy and just your typical I don't know, Black Rifle, I don't know,
being a badass salesman.
Yeah, no, we're not. Let's not be those guys. Let's tell the funny stories. Let's tell the hysterical side of what we used to do, right? And I don't want to paint war in a good way or anything. And but at the same time, I think there is a lot of useful, what's the word on it? Anecdotes. I think there's just a ton of great coping mechanisms, and also, understanding why people react the way they do to those types of situations, especially for humor. I mean, military, we're those guys that are going to go to the Dave Chappelle shows and the Bill Barr shows and, the Dave Smiths and the rest of the, the guys that do really fun, kind of dark humor out there. And there's a reason, because we get it, man. There are some situations in life, you think that they're a tragedy, and really this whole thing is just a tragic comedy. It's a hysterical thing. It's just perspective.
I'm really excited, and I think that it's good to not want to promote war, but if war is terrible, then it's not wrong to say war is terrible.
No, there's plenty of books that tell you how terrible it is, though.
And if war is X, Y, Z way, it's good to it's good to know that. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
So if you can say that with humor on top of it, I think that's pretty cool.
It's got to be a balance, though, right? It's got to be a balance. You got to tell some good, you got to tell some bad, and I think the telling the good side of what you get out of your own humanity a lot of times is probably one of the more powerful things you can do. But anyway, we are at hour and 37, Banksy.
37.
We were planning
I like that number.
We were only planning on doing about an hour show this time.
I know you have to get back to normal life here shortly. But thanks for joining me.
I loved it, man. I love doing this. I love this crowd, man. I get so worked up and excited to do what we're doing. I want to do a lot more of it.
So if you want to help us do that, you can become a patron on the show. It's patreon.com/rebellionpod. Thank you to everyone who is already a patron. You guys make it, I'd be annoyed if we couldn't cover our costs and all that kind of stuff. That would make it more and more difficult and extra stress.
Yeah.
So
Banks doesn't need any more stress.
I stress myself out way too much. Shane knows this. It's making me laugh. That's good, but it's also stressing me out. You know what also help with the stress? Reading an awesome review and getting to 100 reviews on
good.
Apple Podcasts.
What are we, 3 shy right now?
3 shy.
Come on,
If you haven't done it, even if you own an Android phone, you can go on your computer. It can be a PC. You can have iTunes. You can leave it there.
If you've listened to more than 5 episodes, I kind of feel like quid pro quo here. Not that I'm into quid pro quo, but maybe you kind of owe us. You owe me a review. 5 stars, though. If you're going to do anything less, just keep that crap to yourself.
If you've been listening for this long and you don't think you think it's 1 star, I want to hear that 1-star review too. Just go give the review, man or woman.
Those people are too lazy to change the channel. They're not going.
They are too lazy. You're too late. You won't do it, will you?
On top of reviews, if you need to bring anything to our attention, go to info@rebellionpod.com. Again, that's info@rebellionpod.com. You can leave us something there. Maybe we'll put it on Facebook or Twitter.
I bet you won't. You won't do it either, will you?
Talk about it here. Lazy 1 stars.
It's been too long.
Outside of that, this has been The Rebellion. We really appreciate you guys tuning in, sharing this stuff with everybody, and sharing your lives with us. Until next time, this has been your place for peace, liberty, and free markets. We love you. We need you.
Peace.
Don't hurt people and don't take their stuff.